Hey everybody, I'm Dan McClellan. I'm a scholar of the Bible and religion. Let's take a look at a video.
Jesus was not a Christian. His name was not Jesus Christ.
This is accurate. He likely would have been referred to as Jesus of Nazareth or Jesus Bar Joseph or something like that.
Christ was a title that was placed on him during the invention of Christianity about 300 years after his death.
This is inaccurate on multiple levels. There was no invention of Christianity 300 years after Jesus' death. That sounds like it's a reference to the Council of Nicaea, which in no way, shape, or form whatsoever invented Christianity, although it did finally bring the Roman Empire to bear on how Christianity was going to understand its central doctrines. The earliest Christian literature in existence, the writings of Paul, which were probably composed in the 50s and early 60s CE, already apply the title Christ to Jesus. The rest of the New Testament writings do the same. Already before the end of the first century CE, we have the Jewish Roman writer Josephus writing in the 90s CE, saying that people understood Jesus to be the Christ. Now, Josephus rejected that identification, but is a first century witness to the identification of Jesus as Christ. In the early second century, we have other Roman writers referring to Christians who worship Jesus as Christ. We also have manuscripts of the New Testament that predate the Council of Nicaea that have all of the references that are in our modern Bibles to Jesus as the Christ. So this is entirely inaccurate.
Jesus did not leave behind a formal organization in any way.
I would say this is accurate.
He did not name a successor.
As far as we know, but from what we can reconstruct, it sounds like his brother James took over leadership of the followers of Jesus, at least within Jerusalem.
He did not write any books.
This is accurate. During Jesus' life, they probably anticipated that the world was going to end too soon to worry about having to write anything down. So the orally transmitted words of Jesus were considered to carry more authority and more power than the written word.
He did not organize a formal religion or an institution of any kind.
This is accurate.
Jesus did not believe in religion.
This is an anachronism. The concept of religion as we understand it simply did not exist anywhere near the lifetime of Jesus. It was developed between the Renaissance, Reformation, and Enlightenment.
He was anti-religion, just like I am.
Again, the concept of religion as we understand it did not exist then. He was no more anti-religion than he was anti-National Football League.
The Christian Bible was not written by God.
This is accurate.
The book of Matthew was not written by the Apostle Matthew.
This is accurate.
The book of Mark was not authored by the Apostle Mark.
Mark was never identified as an apostle. Mark was the interpreter of the Apostle Peter, but it would be accurate to say that Mark also did not write the Gospel of Mark.
The Apostle Luke did not write the book of Luke.
There was no Apostle Luke. Luke was identified as a physician who was a traveling companion of Paul, but it would be accurate to say that Luke was not the author of the Gospel of Luke.
And the Apostle John did not write the book of John.
This is accurate.
All of these books were written many, many generations after the life and death of Jesus and his apostles.
About 1 to 2 generations, maybe 3 if you date Luke into the 2nd century CE.
These books are written by unknown authors.
This is accurate.
The man who wrote the rest of the New Testament, Paul, was not a follower of Jesus.
It would be accurate to say he was not a follower of Jesus while Jesus was alive, but he has never been credited with the authorship of the rest of the New Testament. The Acts of the Apostles, the epistles of Peter, James, Jude, and John, and the Apocalypse of John were never attributed to Paul. He certainly didn't write the epistle to the Hebrews. He almost certainly did not write the pastoral epistles, and it is likely that he did not write at least 3 other Pauline epistles that are disputed among scholars today.
Paul spent most of his life hunting down the followers of Jesus and either imprisoning them or killing them.
I would say imprisoning them. I don't think that we have any data that indicate Paul himself killed anybody.
Paul was not a pious man.
Well, that depends on how you understand the word piety.
Paul was not an enlightened man. He was not a spiritual guru. Paul was certainly not Jesus.
Paul was certainly not Jesus, but enlightened and spiritual guru, I would say, are pretty subjective value judgments.
Christians do not worship Jesus. They do not follow his teachings or walk in his footsteps. Christians worship a book.
I would say this is true for some Christians and not true for other Christians.
A book is not God. A book is a false idol.
Well, I would say false idol presumes there are true idols, so I don't think I would agree with that characterization. But I actually discuss in my open access book, Adonai's Divine Images, A Cognitive Approach, how the text of the law became a divine image and filled the role that divine images filled in prior periods of Israelite and Judahite history.
The Bible was not written by God. The Bible was written by man.
I would say that is accurate.
Very imperfect men, to be specific.
Well, that's most of us.
In fact, Christianity is so far removed from the life and teachings of Jesus that a modern Christian would not even recognize the second coming if they were looking it in the eye.
Sounds like you could use a Coke and a smile and probably to sit out a couple of plays.